What the heck happened to Samuel Hayden? Samuel Hayden is one of the few characters appearing in both Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. I thought he was a good, interesting character in 2016. And then in Eternal, they make some bold changes. So what happened to him? How does he go from this in the beginning of 2016 to this by the end of Eternal? That's what I like to dive into here. In Doom 2016, you meet Dr. Samuel Hayden, the guy in charge of the UAC facility on Mars, which is responsible for mining Argent energy from hell, hence the demons. Him, along with his AI assistant Vega, are the two people, or robots / cyborgs, whatever, that help you stop one of the lead scientists at the UAC, Olivia Pierce, from opening a permanent portal to hell. Now, there are not a lot of characters in Doom 2016. Excluding yourself, the only characters are Samuel Hayden, Olivia Pierce, and Vega. And Samuel Hayden does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of providing lore dumps and progressing the plot by telling you where to go next. He's a neat character with some funny moments, usually at his expense.
You're only temporarily disabling the tower. You need to remove each lens individually. Carefully release the hinges.
Along with a cool design and a sweet voice.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Samuel Hayden.
But most importantly, I find him to be a fascinating character. For starters, he does not get along with your character, Doom Guy. The biggest tiff between them is that while they both want to stop the demons, Samuel Hayden wants to maintain the production of Argent energy, because without it there would be an energy crisis on Earth. Doom Guy don't care about no Argent energy, so he's doing whatever it takes to shut it down and ensure the demons stay away. This makes Samuel Hayden think that Doom Guy has a one-track mind about killing demons, while Doom Guy thinks Samuel Hayden is a greedy idiot for not prioritizing the demons. And they're both kinda right. It creates an interesting dynamic between the two, where they're essentially work colleagues forced onto the same project out of necessity, but they would absolutely not be getting drinks after they clock out. There's also some data logs you can find on Samuel Hayden. We learn more about his backstory, such as how he was born to a rich family, was a prodigy, rose his way up through the ranks of the scientific community until he was given control of the Argent facility on Mars. He then got super cancer, but instead of dying, he used Argent energy to transfer his brain into a robot body that can keep him alive indefinitely. At the time of 2016, he's well over 100 years old and considered to be immortal. There's a lot of references to how he's pretty arrogant, considering he gave himself a massive 9-foot tall robot body, or how he alone controls the only remaining sustainable source of energy for Earth. It gives more meat to his character and helps you understand what kind of person he is. All of this comes to a head at the end of the game, after sealing the hell portal by absorbing all of the Argent energy with an artifact called the Crucible. Don't worry about it, it's not that important. Samuel Hayden takes the chance to yoink the Crucible and yeet you back to hell. I'm gonna have to cut that. He's a dirty rat born out of wedlock, but I can't help but be somewhat charmed by Samuel Hayden. There's an interesting character there. All of his choices make sense when you take the time to observe his actions and read his data logs. He's also the most vocal character in the game, so he's a pretty integral part of it. So I did like Samuel Hayden in Doom 2016. Doom Eternal, like with most things, is a bit more of a mixed bag. Starting off for Doom Eternal, Samuel Hayden is fine. He's not even in the first 5 levels. Level 6 is all about tracking him down so he can help you track down some other dudes. He does seem a little different in this game though. He's a lot more knowledgeable. Immediately after plugging him into your ship, he knows exactly what you want to do and how to get it.
The final priest is hiding in Sentinel Prime.
It was kind of fun how in 2016 he was figuring things out with you. He didn't have all the answers. It made it seem like everything that was happening was a bigger deal because even the experts weren't sure how to stop it. But now he has all the answers. He knows the locations and history of everything and everyone. Granted, there could be a lore reason for this in that he had been studying the Crucible in between games, but it's not as fun when he has all the answers. It makes him less personable. Also, I'm not sure if the voice actor had a cold or something, but he sounds weird in Eternal, like his nose is all stuffy.
The destruction of the Argent Tower is devastating. The Khan Maker does not want him to be easily found.
I also wish there was some sort of interaction or comment made about him blowing up Vega and banishing Doom Guy to hell, because those things seem pretty pertinent in the moment, but I guess it's not a huge deal. Other than that, he may lack the nuance and depth and complexity of 2016, but compared to where he ends up, he's fine in Eternal Space Game. And if that was the end of the game, I wouldn't be recording this video. But they just had to go and make a DLC. Doom Eternal's first DLC, The Ancient Gods Part 1, is when I believe the Doom writers started experimenting with crack. And the biggest casualty of this is Samuel Hayden, whose character falls off a cliff. The big twist at the end of the first level of the DLC is that Samuel Hayden, you know, the cyborg that's been helping / screwing you over for the past 2 games, is actually an angel. Yeah, not just an angel, but like God's right-hand man, the Seraphim, Sammer Maker. That's really stupid. The whole thing, not just the name. Side note, I do think this level is kind of funny because the whole time Samuel Hayden is just hyping up the Seraphim character, talking about how he's so cool and he'll save everybody, and then it's revealed that it's him the whole time. That's actually completely in character for him, but it's still funny. Now, it can kind of make sense in the context of Eternal that Samuel Hayden is an angel, because he does seem to know a lot about the Makers and Night Sentinels and Hell and whatnot. Like, he comes across as having personal experience with all of them. There's even a couple of bits of foreshadowing here and there referring to him as some sort of otherworldly being.
We don't know how to access his main cortex. It's all alien. We couldn't figure it out.
Dr. Hayden is transferring himself into your ship's mainframe. The architecture is similar to his own.
However, the second you factor in Doom 2016, this doesn't make a lick of sense. For instance, in 2016, the data logs say he was born. Strike 1, 2, and 3 right there. They try to justify this in Eternal's Codex pages by saying he reincarnated himself to be human, but that's still stupid because he would have to make himself a baby so he could work his way up to the scientific community, so he become the CEO of the UAC, just so he could stumble upon Doomguy's coffin in hell. And then he would also have to give himself super cancer so he can turn himself into a cyborg so he can go into hell, because apparently an angel can't go into hell. There had to be an easier way to execute that plan. Why did he even need the UAC for that? He could have just gone himself. He knows where all the hell portals are. And then there's also the little wrinkle at the end of 2016 where he blew up God. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Vega is God. And Samuel Hayden has you blow him up at the end of 2016. It's funny how the Vega twist seems pretty harmless compared to the Samuel Hayden one. But blowing up God for God's right-hand man, I'd say it's a pretty major decision. And then Eternal, he's acting like we gotta save God or else me and the rest of creation are gonna die, whenever he literally tried to kill him in the last game. Doomguy was the one that saved Vega. Samuel Hayden had nothing to do with that. Also, why would he keep the Crucible for energy production if he's a divine being? Why does he even care about an energy crisis on Earth at all? That seems like such a minuscule problem for an angel who knows so much about the other world. In fact, the entire concept that I mentioned earlier of him not knowing stuff in 2016 is real stupid now, because he does know all the lore of hell. Why did he have to get to the Helix Stone to find out about the Crucible? He should just know it. He also says stuff like,
But you've returned, the only flesh and blood to walk between dimensions.
whenever he knows that's not true because the Night Sentinels did it all the time. And apparently Night Sentinels are actually the ancestors of humans, so it's not like they have different genetic DNA or anything. And if he knew hell would come to Earth after 2016, why would he trap the Doomslayer in hell? The guy who was literally prophesied to stop all the demons? What was his plan even supposed to be? It's impossibly stupid. It's a dumb twist that obviously wasn't planned in the first game, because nothing he does in 2016 lines up with what he does in Eternal, or what he is in Eternal. The closest thing to foreshadowing in 2016 was this picture being on his desk, because that figure in the corner is supposed to be him, but that's it. It's not nearly enough to justify the damage that this twist does. Anyway, the first DLC ends with you having a boss fight with the angel version of Samuel Hayden. Now, if you told me you had a boss fight with Samuel Hayden in Doom Eternal prior to me playing it, I would have said, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. He tried to kill you and Vega in 2016. He's got robot gadgets and a giant demon lightsaber. I bet that'd be a cool fight. And then you showed me a picture from the boss fight. I would ask, is Samuel Hayden standing behind the purple flying squid monster? But no, that's him. And just to put the dingleberry on this poo cake, his story doesn't even have a conclusion. After you beat him, you're about to kill him, and then Vega, who is God now, don't forget, says, no, don't kill him. And then he teleports him away, and that's the last we ever see of him. That's how his story concludes. With nothing. He doesn't even say anything. He just disappears. Considering Samuel Hayden wanted to bring back God in the physical form so he doesn't go insane, because that's something that happens to the Makers after a while, and we don't do that by the end of the game, I guess we just assume he suffers an agonizing death off screen? Unless I missed something. So I clearly do not think that turning Samuel Hayden into an angel was a good change. But I maybe could have been on board with them completely disregarding the continuity of 2016 if this made Samuel Hayden more interesting. But it just doesn't. In 2016, he's this person who is dealing with forces he doesn't understand. He's also someone who wants to be a hero and the savior of mankind. He literally turns himself into a giant robot in case people, quote, need a hero. But he's too blinded by his arrogance and the power that he gets from Argent Energy to see that he's dooming humanity by trying to save it. And then he's too much of a coward to actually do anything when the reckoning does come. I think it's very telling that before you meet Samuel Hayden in person in 2016, there's a gore nest right outside his office that has presumably been there for a while. But he doesn't open the door until you clear it. He's been hiding inside his office this entire time while everyone else at the UAC has been getting torn to pieces by demons that are there because of his work with Argent Energy. He doesn't save anyone except for himself. But he also can't let Argent Energy go away, because without it, he loses what seemingly gave him this godlike status among mankind. So he keeps it alive, even to the detriment of humanity, by convincing himself that an energy crisis is worse than a literal demonic invasion. Yeah, good call there, Sam. Really dodged a bullet on that one. Doom 2016 does a great job with this theme of mankind's arrogance in the face of greater unknown forces, and Samuel Hayden is the most apparent example of it. This one scene near the beginning of the game really sums up his entire character.
I'm willing to take full responsibility for the horrible events of the last 24 hours, but you must understand. Our interest in their world was purely for the betterment of mankind. Everything has clearly gotten out of hand now, yes. But it was worth the risk, I assure you.
Also a hype intro scene too. So he goes from all of that to an angel that, despite knowing better, makes bafflingly stupid decisions. It's lame. I feel similarly with Vega. I prefer him as a super highly advanced AI buddy that helps you along the journey. Him being God makes him lose that luster. Ooh, hope that's not sacrilegious to say. Granted, Vega being God isn't as dumb, since they specifically say he lost his memory when he went to Earth. And also in the data logs of 2016, they do say Vega's core was rumored to have been found in Hell. So there was always some sort of supernatural element about him. I'm just personally not a fan of the change. I think that's my biggest problem with the way Eternal handles its story and characters. It's not just that it's stupid. Stupid can be fine. I love stupid. It's the fact that it makes 2016's story feel pointless. Other than Doom Guy waking up in his coffin, almost everything in 2016 is just thrown out the window. You stopped Argent energy production by shutting down the well? Nope, there's a soul factory in hell that still makes Argent energy. Samuel Hayden betrayed you? Actually, it's fine, nobody cares. In fact, he's not even a person. He's an angel. And Vega is God. The whole thing makes it feel like not only did they not plan ahead for this game, but they are actively trying to rewrite their earlier works to fit into their current narrative, and it's worse than the previous one. I know what you're thinking. Who cares about the story and characters in Doom? I just played to kill demons. And I agree, those elements are not the draw of these games, but if I go and get a burger, I don't buy it specifically for the cheese, but having cheese on it can still make the burger better. Same thing with Doom. The characters and story may not be the reason that I'm playing, but it doesn't mean the game isn't improved when they're good, or made worse when they're bad. And I thought Doom 2016 did a great job with its story and characters. And Eternal seems very focused on changing their characters to fit into their new story, so I feel compelled to point out that it's a little silly. Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent there, but I think Samuel Hayden is the biggest example of this. They massacred my boy, and I won't stand for it. So what the heck happened to Samuel Hayden? How did he go from a well-intentioned yet misguided robo-bro to this thing? He was rewritten to fit their current narrative. He was retconned. He was killed. Maybe not his actual character, but what he represented has been crushed beyond recognition. That's what happened to Samuel Hayden, and I think is a darn shame. Also, one of the comments in my last video made a great point about Samuel Hayden and Doom Eternal, so this will be my new headcanon going forward. Thanks for watching. Dark Ages review coming out soon. Bye!